Well, hello there and welcome to the channel. And in this video, I'm going to be talking to you about those 10 gardening mistakes that you will wish to avoid in October. I realise 10 is quite a large number, but don't worry, many of these are really quite short. The first one is to continue to use high nitrogen fertilizers at this time of year. There really is no point, there is no benefit. In fact, there are two drawbacks. The first is that this soft wheat growth is an absolute magnet for biting insects such as aphids, and these are vectors for other diseases and transfer bacterial infections, fungal infections, viruses through the sap from one infected plant into the other. So you don't want to encourage that. Secondly, all that soft growth will be completely killed off come the first frost, and again that creates open wounds, and then that subjects them to other airborne infections. So stop any of this high nitrogen food. If you want to feed them, can't stop you, but then consider using a low nitrogen food such as a seaweed fertilizer. In fact, there is only one plant though I will allow you to keep feeding, and that is your tree ferns. And there'll be a lot more about tree ferns coming up to the winter in a later video. Keep an eye out for that one, that's going to be interesting. Rather conveniently, we're back with tree ferns on number 2. It's just how it was written. Now, the reason why I'm talking about tree ferns is because I've already had a number of people contact me with regarding to overwintering these. And for some reason, and people still do it, I see it everywhere, I see it at Wisley, I don't know why those guys are still doing it. You never, ever remove these fronds when you're overwintering. Keep them in place, they need to be there. Never cut them. I can't say enough times, do not remove these fronds when you're overwintering. All you're going to do is over the next few years kill off your plant. And you don't want to be a plant murderer, do you? I believe I've spent enough time in the company of death. Autumn is upon us, and it won't be long before you start thinking about bringing your half-hardy plants to overwinter in your unheated greenhouse. Now, the weather is still warm. It isn't going to be such a terrible job to start getting on this now. You need to make sure that it's all cleared out, any old leaf litter removed, otherwise you could have fungal spores resting in there over winter. You need to sterilize all the glass, all the frame, make sure there's no overwintering insects that could then start attacking your plants. Get it clean, get it sterilized, get it emptied now before the weather gets cold, because that's going to be a horrible job if you're doing it in freezing conditions. It's warm now. Now is the time to do this job. It'll be a mistake, see what I did there, to not do it during lovely weather. If, like me, you have a rather way too big a collection of Mediterranean plants, well, you got work to do. While many of these plants are quite happy coping with our cool winter conditions, they are not going to like the rain that comes with it. So make sure all of these Mediterranean style plants that you've got growing in pots, shove them to the edge of your house wall so they are protected by the eaves, which will act as a rain shadow. So avoid these wet freezing conditions, put them somewhere where at least they're not going to get the rain. And that moves us on quite neatly to the next mistake. If you are a big fan of exotic gardens and have spent the year planting out these exotic, possibly hardy plants from the Mediterranean, from the Canary Islands, from Central America, I know these plants will cope with the cold, but what they don't like is the combination of wet roots and freezing conditions. So consider putting in, again, rain covers over the top of them. You don't want to put a bag on them because you need to make sure they've got excellent ventilation throughout the winter period. So create some structures, put like a clear panel of something, could be perspex, could be an old window, try and make it look a little bit attractive. But whatever you do, make sure that there's good airflow, and rain's prevented from going down into the root mass. Get that right and really no problems at all. But be aware, you've probably spent a small fortune on these plants. The last thing you want to do is lose them in the winter. Oh, hold on a minute. If you're finding this video useful or even just mildly amusing, then don't forget to click the thumbs up, press on that subscription, and if you want to be notified of whenever we release a new video, then click on that notification bell. It helps us more than you know, and it allows us to do stupid visits like this in the future. Anyway, let's continue to find out what old Boiled Barn has to say. Put my bloody glasses back on. Too hot, too sunny. It's too lovely. For most people, October, you'll probably start getting your first hard frost, and that is then the time to lift all of your half-hardy, tender, tuberous plants and get them stored in a frost-free position. But you need to be careful because you don't want these to dry out, so get them lifted now. There are a number of ways that people used to look after these. They wrap them in newspaper. It's a terrible idea. They store them in peat or grit. This is all good. It's important they are not subjected to frost, but you don't want them drying out, otherwise they'll be in shocking condition come the spring. You may actually just kill them off if you don't look after them. You've got to keep them a little bit moist throughout the winter to stop them from drying out. For me, I just pop them on in a multi-purpose compost, stick them in a frost-free position, which would be my greenhouse, and then once a month I put a little bit of water on it. Bob's your uncle, the job is done. Come the spring, they'll re-sprout. You water them as usual, and once they've established in that pot, they just go back into the ground once you've hardened them off. So be very careful. Get them lifted in a timely fashion, usually after the first hard frost, and get them prepared, put somewhere frost-free. Really good job. It's also an excellent opportunity to do some division so you have more plants for the spring. Hey, free plants. Who doesn't want that? Now, mistake number 6 is to do with deadheading, and I know you've been extremely good on your timely deadheading because I've been watching you do it through the screen on your computer. Not really. But consider this. You can keep on deadheading, but you're just going to get a result of diminishing returns because the temperatures are lower, overnight temperatures especially, and there's less light as we move into our winter equinox. So allow these plants to finish flowering and produce their seeds. That way, there'll be a food source for your native wildlife, mainly your seed-eating birds. So we're talking about plants such as your roses. And not only do you get the benefit of feeding the birds, you also get the lovely ornamental rose hips. And I do particularly like the red ones, but other colours are available. We're also talking about cosmos. We're talking about marigolds. We're talking about echinacea. We're talking about heleniums, all those American plants that we all love to see. Oh, say can you see? I really need to stop doing that. It's like a tick. It's like a tick. I can't stop it. So there you go. You've been excellent at your timely deadheading. Now you can give yourself a well-earned rest and support the other visitors to your garden. Well done, you. So being October means that you're at the end of that growing season. So you've got plenty of plants that you planted at a certain size, and at the end of the season, they are this size. So this is mistake number 7. Don't forget to actually properly stake these plants. Now, you may have put in some supports at the beginning of the year in anticipation of these plants being bigger. But now we are at this point, you need to check for all of those, because in many cases, those supports will not be enough anymore. And if you get a storm, strong winds, many of your plants will start to collapse under their own weight and height. Check this out. So we have a lovely dahlia here, and if you can see, we have the original support that I put in at the beginning of the year, which was absolutely fine right up until we had our last storm, and the weight of this plant just pulled the whole thing down. So in order to deal with that, I've had to put in rather a heavy duty stake. Now this is something you might have to do with a number of plants in the gardens, but if you don't, all you'll find, oh, and this one went as well. I know it's a tomato plant, probably shouldn't be there, but again, this collapse had to be restaked. So it's always better to put in a more substantial stake before your plant falls over, because there is a risk of that whole thing snapping and then you've ruined the plant for the rest of the season. I mean, this dahlia will probably flower really until the end of November, and that's another 6 to 8 weeks of enjoyment that I could have had I not broken it through not staking it, which I did, so it's fine. But just check around your garden, have a look through, see which needs better supporting, and then deal with it in a timely manner so you don't have these issues with broken plants and big holes and gaps in your garden. Oh, rest my weary legs. Now, mistake number 8 is this. Many of your winter and spring flowering plants are going to look quite untidy now. Now, if you did your job right, you would have pruned these immediately after flowering. They've had a whole season's worth of growth, and now they look a bit of a mess. So the temptation is there. I know it's there because I see people, they can't resist it. They get the shears out, they tidy up all this old growth. But don't do that, because all you're doing is removing all the flowering wood for next year's display. So you're talking about, well, any winter flowering plants, so jasmine, nudiflorum, don't particularly like that. That shrubby honeysuckle, I don't like that one either. Then there's early spring flowering ones like your ribes, which I do quite like that one, or your forsythia, also like that one. And especially don't cut back your Philadelphus. I know they look untidy. They look really, really untidy right now. So he's hard to resist, but don't do it. You'll shoot yourself in the foot by destroying all of your winter and early spring flowering displays. Look, see, that one's messy, and yeah, don't do that, because that won't flower now. Now, this mistake is to mark the place where your half-hardy herbaceous plants were, or half-hardy bulbs were. Any of these half-hardy plants that need their roots protected, mark them so that when you've purchased your dry mulch, which I assume will be either a gravel or a bark chip, you know where the plant was to put on the dry mulch to protect it over the winter. Don't just let them die back and then you think, I've got to do that job before it gets too cold. You go into the garden, you think, well, where is it? Where was it? I don't know where it was. I have no idea. So mark them now, put in little indicators so that when they do die back and then you remember to put down your dry mulch, you know exactly where to put it, and you've saved all of those plants. Thinking ahead. And here we are at mistake number 10. Well done for watching this far. Or did I do 12 mistakes to avoid? Who knows? It was 12. I stuck a few extras in just because they were important mistakes. I wanted to put them in there. This last one is to do with tulip bulbs. Now, you would be buying them now with the aim to plant them between September and November. You need to get them in now because you want them in before the winter strikes, because you need that cold period to initiate the blooms for the spring. Now, the problem is there is a rather nasty fungal disease called tulip fire, and it's the fungal known as Botrytis tulipae, and it's horrible. And the current thinking with this is delay your planting. So if you are in an area where tulip fire is known to be, you will need to be able to recognize it from the previous year to know it's there. So I understand it could be a bit difficult, but even if you just want to be on the safe side, consider delaying the planting of your tulip bulbs until about middle to the end of November, beginning of December. Really depends on where you live, but you've got weather forecast. You can see when temperatures start to freeze. Get them in kind of at the latest point if you can. And that's it. Those are all of my 12 mistakes to avoid in your garden in October. And there are plenty others. I could just keep going on, but no one wants to see that, do they? But if you've got any great comments, any great pieces of advice, any great mistakes to avoid, put that in the comments. We would genuinely love to hear from you, and it gets that information out to the wider audience of this channel. Thank you for watching. We'll see you in the next video. Goodbye. Right, now, just before you go, if you want to see more content, more behind the scenes stuff, and images that I've taken of some weird freaky plants over the years, then you're in luck, because we've created an Instagram page. So you can find the link in our description, you can find the link on our main page, and if I'm clever enough, I might be able to get a link somewhere up there. Anyway, thank you for watching, and if you want to see more YouTube stuff, then check out this video here. That's quite a good one. And if it doesn't float your boat, then another one right there. And enjoy these while I've still got the strength, imagination and aptitude to make them. Thank you for watching. Goodbye.